Hello.
Hello.
Whereas we just left you in really awkward silence there. Sorry.
No, I got a swift kick to the uterus. Well, not from a child, obviously, but to the uterus then, just as I went, hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Delilah Green live show. This is going to be an interesting live show, I think, because we have some mixed ratings, which should be good. We have every time we have Christy and we have Maddie down below, and I'm just going to point out that my Polar Thumb merch came today. If you don't know what Polar Thumb is,
so cute,
isn't it adorable? I got the pocket one in a sweater, and I got the walking polar bear one in a t-shirt because it's been so warm, and I'll probably wear that for most of August. But if you don't know what Polar Thumb's about, I'm just going to shout about it now because I'm proud of Jade and what she's trying to do for the polar bears. So it is a readathon hosted by Jade from Jade Away Reads. She hosts it every couple times a year, a week-long one in February, and then a mini one throughout the year later on. This time she's doing a month-long one, and for every 100 pages she reads, she's going to donate £1 to the Polar Bears International charity. And we are also selling bookmarks on Daisy and Bee, and 20% of the bookmarks, the profit made from the bookmarks, will also be going to that charity. And I will also be doing the 100 pages £1 thing as well, and feel free to join in. But she's done a whole thing video, and we have done some Redbubble merch as well, and it's adorable, and I reckon you should all go check it out. So
I will be. I haven't watched the announcement video yet, so I haven't seen the merch until right now, and I'm just there okay, I'm gonna need that. It's really cute.
So shout out to my bestie for that. But yeah, hello to everybody. How are we all doing? And very quickly, what did you think of the book? What did you rate it? Let us know. Maddie, we're going to go with you first.
Ooh, okay. Just the rating or how am I doing? So those are two very different questions. I'll stick with the rating. So I have read this book twice. I feel like I need to say I read it earlier this year when it came out, and then I reread it for this. So I have read it twice, and both times I've given it 4 stars for slightly different reasons. I think I say it feels like slightly different reasons, but I think it's actually very similar reasons. So I obviously very much enjoy it. It's one of those weird ones where it's a 4-star, but I kind of consider it a favorite. So it doesn't quite make sense, but it's one of those. And I'm utterly terrified of what you're about to say, because I've heard nothing about your rating, but I appeared here and they started saying that it's not going to go well, and so I'm scared of her. I've seen your Instagram stories, I have a vague idea how you feel. You are terrifying me right now.
Christy, would you like to enlighten us?
It's a 2, isn't it?
It may or may not be a 2.
It's always a bottom 2.
Yeah, I had some feelings, and maybe by the end of this live we will know if the feelings were the book or if the feelings were me. But I feel like quite often with popular books I say that it's me because I'm scared to say that it is the book because everyone else loves it and I just don't. So yeah, I went with a 2, but I have not seen anyone give it below a 3. So I think I am the vast majority is 4 or 5, the occasional 3. And I was just I just didn't really enjoy my time. So
that's fair. I did give it 4. However, at the time of rating, and I just said this to Christy, I was considering giving it a 3 because it took me so long to get through the book. I think it took me about 3 or 4 weeks to get through the book, but I didn't know whether that was a me problem or the book. But I think when I got to the last 50 pages of the book, I found that it absolutely flew, and I loved the last 50 pages. And I was like, okay, if the rest of the book had been written like this, I would have adored this book. But I don't know what it was about it that I'm still on the fence about, and I feel like by the end of this live show I could drop a star.
Yeah, I feel like that's gonna happen. She's persuasive.
So we do have a 3-star. Hello, glad I could make it to this one. Rated it 4-star. I'm excited for the books. Never given a romance book 5 stars. This is my first. Nice.
Interesting.
I'm glad you enjoyed it enough. Another 5-star. Another 5-star. 4. Chris hasn't read it.
Hi.
Rude. I'm either a 3 or 4, but didn't really like the third act. Okay. But I really didn't like the third act. I thought I read that wrong then. Fair.
So opposite of you.
Yeah. 4 stars, 5, 3, 4.5, 5. Read and really enjoyed it. This was my first LGBT plus romance for many years, as previous attempts sadly underwhelming. Fair. Hello, gave it 4 stars. I feel the same way, 4 stars, but consider it a fave. Nice. Nice. Hello, only a third of the way through the book. I'm enjoying it and think maybe a 4-star, but we'll find out when I'm finishing Going to Go. But we'll watch the live back when I can, so I can hear your thoughts. Thank you for joining us and letting us know, Sophie. I hope you enjoy. As a gay man, Delilah can get it. As a straight woman, Delilah can get it.
I just don't. Oh, I can't.
Delilah Green is a fucking dream. I swear to God.
I didn't realize until reading this book that my favorite thing in the world to read about is women who are fuckboys. But it is, in fact, my favorite thing in the world.
Also, tattooed women who are fuckboys.
No, tattooed women with dark hair, good fashion sense, and creative photography. Delilah Maddie is not okay.
4 stars for me as well. 4.5. I was probably going to give it 5 stars. Okay, so Christy is massively in the minority.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, I don't even know where to start. Like, I just don't know where to start.
Shall we just dive straight in with the spoilers so that we're not tiptoeing around?
I mean, I have one thing I could say that's non-spoilery if you want.
Go on.
Like, I can go into it as long as you want and give no spoilers, because it's just kind of, it's not specific. So, like, basically, Ashley Hennon Blake, like the author, this is her first like adult book. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe so, yeah.
And I just felt like if you take away the fact that, like, I just feel like the actual themes within the book and like the plot points that were happening felt very YA to me. Like, which I feel like I understand where you're probably sitting there going, how does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
we're literally speaking about adults and there are children in this book and people are getting married. But it was just kind of like the things that were happening and the way that certain people were acting and, like, I guess certain like cliqueiness and things like that. I was just like, what? Like, you're acting like young adults, like how I would expect you to act if I was reading a YA. And I think it just kind of kept pulling me out because I just was like, what?
I can see why that would pull you out of it. I guess maybe I'm just very cynical. Like, people don't grow up. I'd love to say they do.
Yeah.
They don't. Like, I feel like I was reading it like, this is actually probably a more realistic depiction of how 20-odd-year-old groups of women can act.
Yeah.
I think situations.
I think as well, because we're getting it just from the POV of Delilah. Oh, no, we're not. But when we get it from the POV, I was like, that's a fucking lie.
Yeah.
When we're getting it from the POV of Delilah, though, she's obviously... Okay, let's just... we're going to go into spoilers from this point. So if you don't want to be spoiled from this point, hop out and you can always come back and rewatch it once you have finished the book. So just FYI, into spoilers. But I think from her POV, obviously she's grown up in this situation where her sister and Iris and Claire, holy shit.
The literal love interest.
Literally one of the main characters, are very cliquey and she doesn't get on with them. And I think because of that reason, it does still carry on with that a little bit because she is going into this where they are still very cliquey. And her sister, Astrid, is very, very, very naive. But again, it's not... I think this is what the thing I enjoyed about it the most actually was the sisterly bonding at the end. That's the thing that came through for me most. I obviously love the relationship between Delilah and Claire. Absolutely love that. And Iris is a fucking diamond. And I love that girl to pieces. I would love to be her best friend. But I just think that Also, Claire's daughter, what a dream. But I just think that the sisterly, sometimes I find the family bonds and the, you know, the struggles that they've gone through and stuff, I enjoy that side of things a little bit more. But I think Astrid has a lot of growing up to do, and I am so excited for her book. I think it's going to be really, really good. But I do find... I think I can sort of see where you're coming from, Christy, because they are still in that it's quite cliquey. Astrid is still a little bit of a child because she's a spoiled brat. And Delilah as well, because of her mindset and the fact that she doesn't want to settle down and she struggled with her last relationship and all this lot, again, can still come across as little, maybe a little bit young than she actually is. I don't know. I do get what you're saying.
Yeah, I think like part of it is also very, very personal. And I bring this up every time I dislike a book because I can see why people would love it. But I guess I don't have like drama-filled, cliquey friends. Like all of my friends are very chill and we get along and I do not fall out with people. And so like I read things like this and it feels very young to me because that's what it was like when I was at school. And I haven't had that in my life for years. So again, I guess it all is very like dependent on your personal life as well. But yeah, I think it just felt like, I guess, similar to how I feel with a lot of the romance I've read recently. So again, this is when you could pull in that I might be the issue. I just don't understand certain decisions. So like if we're into the spoilery part now, I do not understand why in an adult book we feel the need to still use the trope of bets, because I just don't feel like that's something people actually do in the real world. Like,
I agree in, like, I've never read After, but I've seen all the films, and I agree, like, in that kind of thing where it's actually a bet that someone tries to follow through on, that it feels utterly ridiculous. This, where it was Delilah proposing the bet to piss Astrid off.
Yeah.
Successfully pissing Astrid off, and then evidently being interested in Claire and just not letting herself down will admit it, and using that as a cover for her own feelings, realistically. I didn't mind it because it kind of tracked, but I do agree it's very tropey.
Yeah. I do think, like, even if, like, at the end, if the reaction had just not been for her to just walk out and then it was, like, they didn't speak, like, if it had been an adult conversation at the time, I would have been fine. Like, you know, if it had just been, like, oh, no, that genuinely wasn't what happened. If you give me 5 seconds to tell you the paragraph it would take for me to explain what actually happened, then I feel like I wouldn't have cared.
I disagree. I thought the first time you were going to say her walking out at the end. I love that. I think, again, to give the context, I relate so sincerely to Delilah and her, like, feeling of exclusion from, like, a cliquey group. That was me the entire way through school. And I know how basically once you've grown up with that, it is practically impossible to not kind of just assume that's what's going to happen. And I mean, you know, because of what happened at Yalk, it genuinely does. It is that feeling. And if I was in Delilah's situation in that, I would have quit whilst I was ahead. I would try not to because I know it's not logically sensible. But given there is also like severe familial trauma and damage going on, I can just so understand that realistically in her head at that moment, there was no redeeming it, whatever she did.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do was just get out of the way and not make it worse. And like, I just relate to that feeling and that understanding. So I like, it makes sense to me, but I understand without that, then it's just like, oh my, because I'm normally someone where it's like, if you don't talk, I'm there like heads bash for God's sakes. And so I do get it, but I really liked it in this.
Yeah, I guess that does make sense, like for you, like your personal experiences and stuff.
Exactly.
I think they can come into play quite a lot, can't they, when reading books? I think your personal experience can come into play and can therefore sway whether or not you loved a book or whether you didn't. But I think my favourite thing actually about the third act when it came back round and to try and fix it all was that it was Astrid that turned up at the show and not Claire. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy, because I thought Claire was going to be with her and she wasn't.
No.
And I was like, I actually love the way that this has played out, because what they've done is made it about the sisters rather than the relationship first. And I think I really like that, rather than it being a case of Claire coming back, then sorting it out, and then her going back and having the awkward conversation with Astrid. I think it was really good that Astrid made that first move to be like, okay, I probably fucked up a little bit here by throwing Delilah under the bus with Claire, and I shouldn't have done that. But we need to sort this out, because clearly there's been miscommunication for the last 20 odd years and it's not right. So I don't know. I think as well, usually I hate the miscommunication trope, but in this context, I actually kind of enjoyed it, because clearly both of them were struggling with the loss of Delilah's dad, and Astrid's mum's a fucking asshole. So I actually hate that woman, and I'm so excited to see Astrid's glow up in the next book. Like, really, really excited, because it's going to be a phenomenal glow up. I've absolutely no doubt. So I'm really looking forward to that one. But yeah, I think as well, sometimes I do hate, you know, when like I do this bullshit, because that's actually a lie, because I'm just thinking about every time I do this all the time. Like, I was about to tell you that I don't like sometimes when we get too involved in the Friends, but obviously they're setting us up for the fact that we're doing the Friends. I know it's bullshit, because Chloe Brown series, for example, I love that series. We've got the sisters. Also, the Family You Make, they're not even setting us up for the rest of the friends in the group, and we're going involved. Like, I don't know what I'm saying. Never mind. Ignore me.
And I really like at the end, like I think that was one of my favorite parts of the entire book, was when Astrid said, like, look, like they've both kind of spent their entire life blaming the other person, but Astrid was the first one to come forward and say, yeah, but I invited you to come back to me all the time, but never once did I offer to come to you.
Yeah.
But again, I feel that on a personal level. So I think like this live's just gonna be us like telling you all our trauma and how we relate to the book. But I think that was like my favorite part of the entire book. Like reading that conversation, I was just like, I really, really appreciated that.
Yeah, I was gonna say as well, with the like whole family side of it, that's interestingly, and hear me out on this, it having a big family, sister, all of that focus is, for me, I think, what makes it a 4, not a 5, but is also what makes it a favorite versus just like a good rom-com. So it's like, for me, it doesn't feel like a 5, because for me, if I'm reading a romance, if I'm not sat there literally like, then it's not a 5. It just, I have to be having like physical reactions for a rom-com to be a 5, which is why it wasn't, because it was like that slightly more serious tone. But that's also what makes it stand out as like a like really great book. It's just, it doesn't give me the like feel of a 5. But yeah, I think that's exactly why it's like in that weird in between state.
But that totally makes sense, actually. I think
this, and I think as well, like, I think that's the thing the entire way through is, yes, they're adults now, but they are adults that grew up in an utterly awful situation. And honestly, it is crazy how one tiny miscommunication early on can make things spiral, even when you're already an adult. Let alone, they were like, what, Delilah was like 10, 12, maybe?
Yeah.
And she was made an orphan with a family that, as far as she knew, didn't really like her anyway. And she's always a little bit the outcast. And like just as like a semi-anxious person, like I understand again that feeling of whether it is or isn't about you, every comment you hear is. And so then it spirals.
Yeah. I by no means did I mean that it's immature that someone doesn't want to settle down. I was one of these people until last year.
It's a bit younger, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah. I think it kind of comes part and parcel in the sense that because you're not wanting to settle down, sometimes you end up playing the field, which is exactly what Delilah wanted to do and what she, you know, openly said she was doing anyway. And sometimes in that sense, it can be that you know, and I think people who want to settle down and are settling down are a lot more serious than people that are playing the field, is essentially what I mean, which is, it's fine either way, you know, like there's no problem with it either way, I think, but I feel the walking, that is so me. I agree, I need to walk away and calm down, or I can make it worse. Yeah.
Yeah, like I say, I think that is very, very dependent on how you are as a person as to how you react to that. Because I am the sort of person who, if you try to walk out on me, I will shout at you and force you to come back and finish a conversation.
Yeah.
Like, I do not let miscommunication be a thing because I'm so bluntly honest with everyone in my personal life.
I'm really looking forward
Doesn't
to
get
us
to that
having another
stage.
episode. It's gonna be fun. No, but I think the thing as well, like, sorry, just remembering the that whole like the bet situation just come back to me. Like, I actually got really frustrated at Astrid and Claire in that. Like, I know Astrid was literally her only goal in that moment was to hurt Delilah. I get that completely, and it makes sense. But like, and I know Claire has been hurt, just like literally everyone else in this entire book. But it did slightly frustrate me after saying all this stuff and how she knew Delilah wasn't the person, and also understood literally how excluded Delilah had been her entire life and why Delilah felt and acted the way she did, especially towards Astrid. And Claire was the only one that got that at that point.
Yeah.
It really frustrated me when Astrid, clearly in a bad state, clearly mad at Delilah, brought that up, and Claire's first thought was, that must be true, it's all a joke.
Again,
like,
the cliqueness
you
comes
can
in,
do better
doesn't
than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, she's gone immediately to, oh my God, Astrid is my best friend, she wouldn't lie about this, and just completely ignored everything she knows about Delilah.
And like, even if, and that's the thing is, but I think it's as well, it's like the context of the bet may be true, and that may be how it started, but can Claire seriously not in any regard see that that's not where it is now?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I think this book, there was a lot of presumptions made by characters, which I guess is just common. Everyone does that in their day-to-day life, but I think it was something that I did notice a lot whilst I was reading, and it's not something I think I ever really notice. So I don't know if it was just happening a lot, or if it was because I was already not enjoying the book, I was picking up on a lot of the smaller things that I maybe otherwise wouldn't notice in a book if I was enjoying it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's very rare to see the miscommunication trope done more. Usually it's the most painful thing to read. Yeah, I usually hate it, especially when there's an opportunity for someone to come forward and say, okay, this has happened, or, you know, like, whatever. If they have a perfect opportunity and they lie and then force the miscommunication, whereas if it's an actual genuine miscommunication in this situation where Astrid didn't think Delilah wanted anything to do with it, and therefore Delilah didn't think Astrid wanted anything to do with it, and the whole thing has been kind of tainted a little bit with Astrid's mum being a complete asshole and not actually wanting anything to do with Delilah, then I think in this situation it's just been a case of like, it genuinely is just complete miscommunication.
Yeah. I think as well in like most romance books especially, it is normally one person says one thing, they hear one word slightly wrong and the world implodes. Whereas this was based on, as you said, like so much background that meant like it made sense for people to hear things not how they were intended.
Yeah.
And so it just tracked so much better. It was great.
Yeah.
Astrid Parker Doesn't Fall is going to be incredible.
I'm so excited. Sorry, this is practically covering you, Maddie.
That's fine. I can.
As soon as the bet was made, I knew it would blow up, so it didn't have an impact negatively. Yeah, but I agree with Steph. Astrid turning up to the show was better than
awesome.
Sorry.
She's having great fun down there now.
I'm really tempted to just stop being like,
This is a bit like the one. Does anyone remember that live show where someone did a load of water and Jade pretended she was swimming? You're just Maddie completely derailing the live show.
Sorry, I'm focused, I promise.
What really brought it down for me was Operation Shitboot. I can't imagine 30-year-olds doing that. Now, ironically enough, I tabbed Operation Shitboot because I thought it was the funniest thing in the whole book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely, especially with like your closest friends, that is definitely something I would see myself doing. And I am 99% of the time the youngest in my friend group.
Yeah.
And I'm 23. So I would say, especially when you're speaking about romantic things, yes, that is 100% something I would do with my friends. So
yeah, I agree. I think I think it actually made a lot of sense to me. It was, they don't want to ruin their friend's happiness. Their friend is obviously being cagey about it and they just don't know how to approach it.
Yeah.
And then they put humor onto it to kind of make it palatable.
Yeah. I think I don't know, I may be tagging on to, I guess, the name, which is definitely something I would do. In terms of the actual I'm going to speak behind my friend's back with all of my other friends to try and like make her come to a realization that she doesn't want to marry, and like the whole like it almost felt like they were like playing a game. And I know that's not what I'm saying, but like it kind of came along that lines.
Mm-hmm.
And they were kind of almost trying to like have fun with it in certain ways. And I was like, this just feels like you know, like this is someone's entire life. And I guess to me it was just like, oh well, we didn't know how to speak to you about it. And it's like, well, that's a lot better than the way that you attempted to handle it. Having an awkward conversation is much better than the entire thing. But in terms of the name Operation Shitboot, I love it. But the actual storyline of it, I
do agree. I feel like I kind of ignored it because it was so like in the midst of everything else happening. But I do agree. It's like, if you're actually friends, like it may be really uncomfortable, but I could see a little bit of the like nudging, see if she comes to a realization herself before you have to implode her life. Yeah. But like the second that wasn't happening, then it's okay, cool.
Someone's got to do this. Yeah.
I think the other thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, although I did just read this part this morning, so I feel like I'm not. At the very end, Delilah goes into Astrid's room and she picks up journals and is like, oh, but I'm not reading them. But then, oh no, I've accidentally noticed my name. Oh no, I'm actually just going to read them all to see what she said about me. It was never addressed. And as soon as she started reading them, I just got viscerally angry because I'm just like, why? And then it was like never addressed. And I think if it had maybe been addressed, then I would have possibly kind of gotten over it. But am I wrong in saying it never was?
It never is.
No.
I agree in it being wrong, no question. However, I also think it's a completely believable thing to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
It feels like there is just no route, no anything. Not saying she should have done it, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I do agree in terms of it being like a realistic thing that, and I'm not 100% shocked that it did happen. I think I would have just loved a conversation around like, because Astrid kind of came forward and was like, okay, I did this wrong, I'm sorry. And I would have loved it for like, I guess Delilah did kind of reciprocate that, but yeah. I think this was just one specific thing that I just feel like I would have loved to have been addressed. It never really was.
I think because of it, though, it all came out in the wash, didn't it? Because she then did read the journals, it all came out in the wash that, oh shit, turns out that Astrid actually did want to be friends, and she was upset about the fact that it appeared Delilah didn't want to be. And I think because of that, maybe there wasn't any animosity from Astrid about the journals, and therefore it just wasn't brought up again, maybe. Because Astrid was probably actually grateful that she went through and read them.
Yeah, I think,
but still.
For me, it felt like, honestly, it's just too low on the priority list to be addressed first. I think it feels like, and this is just complete guesswork, it feels like the sort of thing that 6 months down the road, once they're like a bit further on, then it'll come up as a like, actually, wait, can we... That wasn't okay, right? Yeah. Kind of thing. It feels like straight away the problem is the focus just has to be making some attempt at healing what is left.
Yeah.
And that, like, I completely agree, like, I would like to see it addressed, but I can see why it wasn't within the realm of this book, and it could be later.
Maybe it could come up in Astrid's book as like oh yeah, remember that time, Delilah, when you read my journals? And then a conversation might come up from it or something.
Yeah. I guess I don't actually remember Astrid knowing that it had happened. I think she probably was distracted by Delilah and Claire being together. But I think it's just, as a reader, I don't want to have to make assumptions about what may or may not happen in the future. Yeah. Because I'm reading a story that an author has written to completion, and making judgments from that rather than being like, oh, but this may happen or that may happen or it could happen out with the book.
I get that, but if it doesn't feel like it would have logically been a conversation that happened straight away, this is a genuine question. Like, how would you want it to be addressed if it doesn't feel like it would actually fit within where the book ended?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I really have no idea. I think I was just at the point of literally anything these characters were doing, I was going to pick up on not liking. I genuinely think I was just at the point where like she could have apologized and I would still have found something to be annoyed at her for. But I just, I
do think it's a point though. I'd be very intrigued to see if it comes up in the second book.
Yeah. I mean, I don't particularly see myself picking up the second book.
No, that's
But
fine.
you
We can
suppose
tell
let me
you.
know.
We can send you a photo of the paragraph if you need it.
Let me know.
I also felt like the middle dragged. I've no idea why, but again, it could be because it just took me so long to read it. But once I was putting the book down again, I wasn't finding that I was in any rush to pick it back up again, if you know what I mean. So again,
I had an interesting thing with that. 'Cause the first time I read it in a day. I literally just sat down, read it without moving. So obviously no feeling of it dragging because I read the entire thing in like 3 and a bit hours. It was like watching a film. Second time I did, and I similarly had that feeling of like not wanting to pick it back up. However, I am A, in a massive reading slump, B, read it about 3 months ago, so it's not like I didn't know what happened next. And C, I'm in the middle of moving and I'm very busy, and so I don't think I would have picked up literally anything.
That's
so fair. Like that's why I said like I feel like it's different reasons, but I think it's external factors more than the book, though I do find it interesting that even just reading it that slightly slower bit, it did feel a bit draggy, and that's from a book I really, really enjoy and knew I would like. So I do think it possibly had a little bit of a pacing issue. And also, I'm going to say this is possibly controversial. I've seen the comments saying they like hated Astrid's boyfriend, fiance as a character. I agree. He actually didn't annoy me. He did annoy me as a character, but I got annoyed by like, did we have to go so far with making him a dick? Like, you can make him I feel like a subtle but really awful person would have been better than the like blatantly like Astrid's a bit like damaged and makes some poor decisions, but like she's not that stupid. Come on. Like
I think I felt like that's kind of the reason for it all as well. Like it just doesn't really add up to how bad he was, like for the reason she had for kind of staying with him.
And I can understand the pressure she was under, and I think if it was even just like a touch more subtle, it would make perfect sense. It was just like they were attempting to do comedic effect, and it did feel like they were slightly leaning into the like all men are bad kind of thing. And I was like, this doesn't feel real. Whereas the entire rest of the book to me felt like really like viscerally real. And it just like, it was funny and I enjoyed reading it and hating on him fine, but I was kind of like, did we need it? I don't know.
I actually think, like, speaking along the lines of things feeling very like real, I think one of my favorite things was the whole situation between Claire and her ex and Ruby. Josh, was that his name, I think?
Josh,
I loved that. Just like the way that it was all kind of handled. I fully related to just that entire situation, obviously minus a child. But like I really, really liked that all played out. And let's just all agree that Ruby just deserved better than whatever this book gave her, because she was the actual light of my life in this book. So
adorable.
Great. I think my favorite scene of potentially the entire book is actually when Josh comes back from having, gone through the final bits in his house, just his utter panic. And him realizing like, oh my God, I potentially just fucked this entirely, but also his complete humility. He could have responded to that by being like, but why don't you trust me? Come on, I've been trying. But he just went, no, you have every right not to trust me. I'm going to continue showing you can, and I am really sorry that I fucked it this time, but fair. I don't really trust me either.
His character growth was huge, wasn't it, in this book?
It was incredible.
Even though we didn't necessarily see him as it was only from Claire's voice that we heard he's a bit of a dickhead, and he's walked out on Ruby several times. But we didn't actually see that. It's more telling as opposed to showing. But we see it throughout the book that he is. I don't know. I was so fucking livid with him when I thought he bounced again, and I was like, for fuck's sake, Josh, what's wrong with you? Never once did it cross my mind that he could have been in the fucking forest sorting his house out. I was like, he literally told us, and I was like, it's right there. He told us, and never once did I think it. I just doubted him immediately.
I think to me that shows how well written it is, that we understand that feeling of doubt and that feeling of like mistrust, that all the characters will actually be feeling. And then the other part of that scene I just absolutely adored. Like, I guess it's probably like the scene before is when Astrid and Iris come over. And Claire's like, how did you know? And it's like, you gave your 10-year-old a phone. We've been being texted relentlessly.
Yeah.
And we love it. I was like, that was adorable. I like that.
No, I really, really loved how that all played out, like, immensely. It was just, I think that was, like, one of my favorite, like, storylines. I guess this book actually has a lot of storylines in it when you actually think about it, doesn't it? Like, there's a lot happening.
There's so much happening.
And again, it's to build the characters up because we're getting an Astrid book and an Iris book. So we're getting, obviously, some of their backstory as well. Which is
Are we getting an Iris book? Has a third one been confirmed?
Yeah, it's got. I don't know if it's. I think it's got a title and everything.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
You knew about Astrid, because I was just about to say, do we know anything about the premise of Iris's? Because obviously she, in this current book, is in a settled relationship.
Yeah, it's called Iris Kelly. It doesn't date. A queer rom-com in which a woman who refuses to date after our latest devastating. Maybe this could be a spoiler for the second book.
Probably, but there we are.
Well, I mean, to be fair, but the second book isn't even out yet, though, is it? So
no.
They can't
she ends up fading.
It's not really a spoiler, is it? Like, by the end of the second book, she won't have a partner anymore. Like, that doesn't feel like a massive spoiler. Or it'll happen between books.
She ends up fake dating a woman. So it's got my favourite trope in it. I fucking love fake dating. And it's sapphic, so yay for that.
I'm not going to lie. Oh, they participate in a local theatre production. I'm sorry. I'm not going to lie, though. I'm disappointed. I was really, really banking on her still being in the long-term relationship and it being poly. That's what I was banking on. I'm sad. But I'll survive. They put theatre in, so I'll let them be.
I'm just going to skip a couple of these because we've kind of like moved on from the whole diary reading.
I think it was little things like this that made me feel like it was quite YA.
Yeah.
Because again, I am just not surrounded by people who would do that. And to me, if you are a 40-year-old and would do that, I will gladly call you immature to your face. So I think it was things like that, just the way the entire thing was handled that made me feel that way.
I agree on the pepper. I think when Delilah was doing it by herself and like knocking him in the water and shit like that, I was like, that feels on brand for Delilah.
Oh, yeah.
When Claire and Iris got in on doing that to an adult, that to me didn't track. I was like, that doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, this doesn't actually affect how Astrid feels about him. This is just you being childish.
Yeah, no,
someone you don't like. Yes, you have reason to not like, but this is not helping anything, and you are just being immature.
Yeah. No, when I read that, I was sort of like, okay, sure.
It didn't even add that much to the book either, so I don't know why it was even included. Like, there are so many other things that could have replaced that to get him to be in a bad mood to leave.
Again, that whole kind of camping episode, I thought something big was going to come out of that, and it didn't. The only big thing that came out of it, I felt like the whole thing was a waste of time and could have been cut, which is quite a few pages. But I think the only thing that actually did come out of it, because there was nothing really about Josh and Ruby that came out of it, or Josh and Claire. There was, so fair enough, we got a little bit of a cheeky scene from Delilah and Claire, but nothing to add to the story too much. I think the only thing we actually got out of it is the fact that Astrid's partner is a bit of a dick and he won't let her go camping with her mates on his own. That's the only thing we got out of it. And I was like, yeah, but we already thought that he was a bit of a dick anyway. So I
liked the Delilah and Astrid scene in the camping bit, but I agree, other than that, it was practically pointless.
Yeah. And it went on for quite a while, and I was like, I don't know what the point is.
Yeah, I did like the little things they had with Delilah and Ruby there as well.
Yeah.
Like with her showing her how to like edit the photos and stuff. But again, that wasn't massive and definitely could have been done a different way. I just kind of loved their entire little like friendship they had going on. I would have loved to have seen more of a like something with that at the end as well, but also definitely agree that that is something that would not have happened directly after. So one of those situations that you say that I feel like would happen later on. but I just would have loved to have read it.
I can guarantee we're going to see Ruby and Delilah in future books.
Yeah.
Surely. Iris's book is going to be so much fun. It's going to be... she is the best character. I say that now. Delilah's best, but Iris is a close second.
Ironically enough, I was reading Iris's relationship not as a relationship. I was reading it as them as just being close friends. I actually, for part of it, thought that her partner was gay. And I was like, oh, this is her partner, not a gay best friend. Oh, interesting. I was like, it didn't track with me that they were in a relationship. I didn't read it as being romantic at all. I'm obsessed with the fake dating trope. It's my favourite trope.
I know it's utterly ridiculous, and it's one of the ultimate. No one would ever do that in real life near enough. But, like, I love it.
Literally.
Give me the book now. I mean, I'm just excited for how soon Astrid is. I don't know how soon Iris is, but Astrid's in, like, 2-3 months.
Yeah.
Really.
Actually smashing them out, isn't she?
It's insane. I don't know how, but not complaining.
So if you are curious on my opinion of Iris, as someone who I feel like if you could pick me out of the book and say I was someone, it would probably be Iris. Which, to be fair, I feel like this is very apt. At times, I felt like she just took it a bit too far and crossed the line into just being rude.
Yeah.
But also same. So definitely realistic. But just picking up on, I guess, like, yes, she is hilarious, and I think we all need a friend like that in our life. I am that friend. So yeah. I do think there was just certain times where I was like,
yeah,
really?
I think I particularly enjoyed that. Obviously, there is some like leftover animosity and tension between her and Delilah, but I just kind of loved that she just never cared. She was just like, "I'm just going to speak to you anyway, and and I'm not going to coddle you," because like I liked the way Claire like helped Delilah through it. That was adorable. I loved that Iris never did that. She was just like, "No, we're just moving on. Just leave it." And I was like, yeah, fair.
I like little parts of friendship from those two as well, like from Iris and Delilah, and the way that, because you're in Delilah's head and she's like, oh, like I'm just sat here with my head on Iris's shoulder, or Iris is sat here with her head on my shoulder and I've not moved and she's not moved, and it just feels nice. And I was like, this is adorable. Their friendship blossoming is really cute. And I know they've not, like, it's not been addressed, but I don't necessarily think, I think Iris sees it as, okay, we were kids. Yeah. And there was a miscommunication thing, but we're grown now and things have moved on, and you know, let's just get on with it. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that as well. And I think it was one thing I also did really appreciate in terms of not everything in life has to have a conversation, and sometimes you can just move on from things. Not everything has to be spoken to death. And I think because the situation was kind of brought up as a whole, so the rabbits are having a rare time now, because it was like brought up as a whole with like Astrid at the end, I feel like it kind of got covered there. Do you know what I mean? Like it didn't require its own thing, because like if Delilah had spoken to everyone in this book that she had had issues with as a child, the entire book would have just been dialogue. So
yeah. Also, like, I know, Christy, you may not read the second book, but I'd be intrigued to know from both of you, do you hope in the second book they acknowledge the relationship with the mother? Because I kind of don't. I just kind of want them to like cut her off, to be honest.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind them moving on from it, because I actually can't stand her as a person. I think, I don't know, would I like to see a glow up from her? I don't think I really care. And I
just want her in the book less.
Yes, yeah. Because I just think she's very poisonous to, especially Astrid, but also incredibly Delilah as well. But Astrid's entire life has been living for her mum and doing what her mum wants her to do. And again, this is something I was going to mention before. Her partner, the guy she was going to marry, is fair enough, a bit of a dick, but I do agree with you on, I think they took it too far. I think the whole point in that relationship was that her mum wanted her to marry him. He didn't necessarily have to be a dick. It was just a case of she didn't love him. And
not the right person.
He was not the right person. He didn't have to be a dick. But I think they did take it too far in making him a dick, which was unnecessary. It was just a case of she didn't love him.
And I think also I almost would have preferred her friends to be able to spot that she didn't like him instead of spotting that he was a dick.
Yeah.
Like, and yes, that may not always be the case, but I feel like that would have been a more interesting plot potentially.
Yeah.
I think in terms of the relationship with her mum, I think I would like to see it addressed but also I would love to see it addressed, but along the lines of just because someone is your family doesn't mean you have to tolerate their shit. Rather than, oh yeah, I'm going to forgive you for all of the shit you've put me through for my entire life because you're my mom. Because I hate that, and I'm fully a believer of if someone is adding no value to your life, it does not matter if they are your family. Like, you don't need to put yourself through that. So I would love to see it addressed, but I would almost like to see it done in that way. I don't see that happening. It doesn't often happen that way in romance, even if it is like a family relationship. But yeah, I would love to see it done that way if it was going to be done. And it will, because it was such a massive part of the first book. I feel like the author's definitely going to carry it on into the next one.
I don't think I agree. I don't think it'll go as hardline as I would like. However, Astrid was like standing up to him in the first one, and it doesn't feel like a redemption arc waiting to happen, considering we've kind of done that with Astrid and Delilah. It doesn't feel like the result is going to be, oh yeah, everyone's grown and it's better now. Like, it just kind of feels like we've done that. I don't feel like it's impossible. I agree. I don't think it'll be as much as we'd like, but I don't think it's impossible that it'll be more of a like, I'm not going to cut you out of my life, but I'm not putting up with this anymore.
Yeah.
We will be in each other's lives, but on my terms now.
Yeah.
Kind of vibe.
I agree with this also. He was toxic and controlling, but again, I don't know if it needed to go that far, because it was a case of Astrid just didn't love him, and it was her mum that kind of made this decision for her, and there was just not really any need. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the way that the point of view we're coming at it from isn't that we don't think that was part of the book. It was almost we don't feel like it had to be written in the first place, not that reading the book we felt like it should have been handled differently. It was almost like, why couldn't she have just been with a guy who was maybe a little bit of a dick, but didn't literally make massive life-changing decisions without her consent?
Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that it's okay. It's okay for your partner to be a good person or an okay person at least, but your relationship is not okay because you aren't in love with that person and you're with them for a reason outside of your relationship. For example, her mother. I think it needs to be okay, that is an actual okay thing. But also I think maybe in that situation, the storyline would be different because you would then be able to have a conversation with them, I suppose. But I don't know. If it would
I feel like it's almost we're breaching on the side of almost just like an entire different story that could be written in the future. Like, it's just something totally different. But I think it would have been interesting to see in this story. It's not that we don't agree with how it was written. It's just, it would have been interesting to explore it from a different point of view as well.
I think as well for me it was just within a very real and quite raw book, having a complete caricature was just like didn't quite fit the vibe.
Yeah. Iris's book is 2023. Yeah. And I believe Astrid's is November this year as well.
Yeah, it is soon.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else to address, ladies?
Probably, but nothing I can think of right now. Yeah, I mean, I think, like, just to round it off, I mean, obviously I understand, like, I think objectively I can see that there's nothing wrong with this book. I think I just read it and it just didn't gel with me.
Yeah.
But fully agree, like, it is an important book. It addresses, like, good things. We're here for all of the sapphic romances, but it was just, like, all around, there was just too many things. Basically, I am a rater who rates on my enjoyment, and I just didn't enjoy myself reading it.
That's fair.
Yeah. That's what it all boils down to in terms of a rating. But I guess, as you can see, like, in terms of us actually speaking it out, it wasn't like I detested this book.
Oh, no.
I just didn't enjoy myself reading it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Mads, anything to add?
I'm going to reply to the Do You Have Rex of Similar Books? However, I'm frantically texting my mother because I decided I want them in London, so I'm going to get her to bring them tonight. But she's getting in a car in like the next 2 minutes. So give me 1 second.
No worries. I think actually I am going to mention One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston on the basis, well, not on the basis that I did thoroughly enjoy it. I actually enjoyed it more than this, so I do think that my rating may need to come down for Delilah Green. I'm not sure. I haven't decided, but Christy also rated that one 2 stars, but I thought it was fantastic. It was really, really good.
I think it does have very, very similar vibes. Obviously, it is not adult. I think it kind of falls into like the new adult sort of age range of characters, doesn't it? But it is a YA.
Definitely not YA.
Is it not YA? Okay.
Absolutely not YA.
I don't really remember. Oh, yeah, no. Okay, no, it's not. It's been a while since I read that one. Yeah, definitely not. Ignore me.
Forget everything she just said.
Yeah, ignore me. But no, I think One Last Stop, as someone who didn't enjoy either, is very similar in terms of it has the same sort of vibes of like strong friendship groups and stuff as well.
Yeah.
But One Last Stop obviously does have a slight sci-fi elements to it.
Yeah.
That interests any of you,
Yeah.
which I love in contemporary books, just not that one.
Yeah. My recommendation, slightly different vibe, but just so highly recommend, is the Written in the Stars trilogy by Alexandria Wellesler, books 1 and 3. What? Did you hate that as well?
No, I haven't read it, and you're saying it's similar. So now I'm like over this.
Steph's read it. It's not like a completely similar vibe. It's much more just like a rom-com. Books 1 and 3 are sapphic. Book 2 has a bi-female main character, but it's not a female-female relationship because good. And yeah, it's more rom-com, bit less of the serious stuff, but honestly, just so good.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. So I'm going to go with that.
Yep. I wasn't planning on doing just on the basis that it would take up other spots that we could give to other books. But if you want, I can set up like a buddy read section in the Discord and you can chat along with the books if you want to do that. I mean, it could be a case of it comes up in a poll and it wins, so maybe.
Is ALAO this series? And if so, what's that stand for?
Astrid. Oh no.
I'm presuming she meant to write along.
That would make sense. Reading the other 2 along with the book club.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
Not sure, but I was going to say, saying this on a live is probably a mistake, but I mean, I'll be reading it then anyway, assuming you read it, and I don't know whether you're going to want to or not, but I'd be more happy. Ooh, phone just fell. I'd be more than happy to do like a, not part of this, but like a random live to discuss it if people want.
We can do, yeah. Yeah. Could do a poll and see who'd be interested if you want to. This month's book is the Mindfck series by Ruby Dixon, and August is Fine Print by Lauren Asher. That's going to be another situation in which I've only just read the fine print, so I'm going to have to reread it again very close. And I am intrigued to see whether or not my thoughts on the book change on that basis. I don't think they will, but
that's her.
You're welcome. Count Your Lucky Stars. I just bought that. It's a good series.
That's book 3 in the series, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it's like the Brown Sisters. They technically can be read in any order, but you will get slight spoilers for the other 2 books if you read them out of order.
Yeah. Yeah. Lovely sun trap going on there, Mads.
Great. I can't see the screen anymore.
Okay, so we're going to wrap this up because I think that's everything. But I hope that you have enjoyed the live show. Thank you to my co-hosts for joining me. You will probably see them very soon. Christy, I've got you on again for the fine print, right, with Becca?
Nice. Yes, I'm excited.
Nice. Mads, have I got you on again soon or not?
No, I didn't realize saying people were allowed to sign up, so I was like, no, I've done one. And then I saw the list of names, and I was like, oh. So I'll get it on a future one.
Cece has set up a channel in the Discord as well for the other 2 books. Thanks, Cece. So yes, I hope everyone enjoys their weekend, and I've no doubt we shall see you all very, very soon. But thanks for hanging out with us. Goodbye.
Thanks,
Bye.